Welcome back and congratulations on surviving another week. Wow, that sounds kind of dark, but hey, it's been a rough little while here, hasn't it? I'd say we've earned our drinks this week. I was going to have a special guest tonight, but Dino of the Late Late Horror Show is having a time conflict and some technical issues, so we're going to have to reschedule with him. But you know what? Boomer and I are still here, and so are you. So we'll save the scary ghost stories for another night, and maybe instead focus on the tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. What do you say? Top off your eggnog and strap in. The Friday night sleigh ride is giddying up right now. Hey, how you doing there, Boomer?
Why'd you keep that? I like that music. I could listen to that for like an hour or so. The intro music.
Well, you're a YouTube content creator. Just download it from the YouTube library.
Really? They have free music you can use?
Yep.
I didn't
A
realize
whole
this.
bunch of stuff. All the music that you hear on my channel comes from there.
I didn't realize that.
In fact, every now and again, as I'm going through and listening and checking things out, I'll hear a tune and I'll go, "Hey, that's that tune that other YouTube channel uses." You know? But some of the music really is good, and this one I actually kind of like. I actually find myself, humming it, during the day and whatnot.
I'm doing good. I got a very good night's sleep last night.
Did you? Well, that's always good.
Like having 2 nights of broken sleep, and I was messed up. I'm like, you're going to bed early, and you're sleeping in, and I got like 10 hours, so that was good.
You realize you sound like an aged boomer.
You know something?
Come on a stream and you talk about what a good night's sleep you had the night before.
What?
Did you make it all the way through without having to go pee, too?
No.
What you sipping on, by the way, speaking of having to go pee?
Coke. You won't have to pee if you drink a Coke, okay? Unless you have ice with it.
It's got caffeine in it. That's a diuretic. That'll make you go pee.
Okay, well, there you go. Well, maybe that's my problem.
There you go.
Out the caffeine in the new year, huh? My New Year's resolution, huh? Less caffeine? What do you think, huh?
Yeah, I mean, if I don't have caffeine, I'll get a headache, but, whatever. But yeah, got my eggnog, and this is true fresh eggnog, and I'm not too concerned about they got all the warnings on all the recipes about uncooked eggs and da. And I'm like, screw it.
Salmonella surprise.
Well, they're fresh eggs, so I'm not too concerned. Plus, I think the alcohol in here is probably going to kill anything I'd be worried about, right?
Oh, Artificer Joni is in the house. I'd be fascinated to know what Christmas is like in Finland.
Oh, yeah. Good point. Artificer Joni, I'll tell you something. The fact that you're able to make it in here when you're halfway around the world, I don't know what time zone that makes it, but wow, I super appreciate seeing you there. We're kind of going backwards here because I see Daniel Herron, Soundtracks with Birdman. Hey. Matt Anui, hi, how you doing? Good to see you there, my friend. And up at the top of the stream, we got Melissa Harris of Go Team Ghost Planet Go. So good to see you. You were first, but I read in backwards order. And of course, never to be overlooked, my faithful wrench and hardest worker on my channel, Netter of Netter's Network. Love you, babe. Glad to see you here. So we were going to have a special guest, just, little peek behind the curtain. You guys probably see it in the...
too, sweetie.
I sent you the link so you can listen. Listen without the lag, so...
Thank you.
What was I saying? Oh, yeah. So I updated the description below and whatnot because we were supposed to have a guest. Dino from Late Late Horror Show was going to be here tonight, but a couple fatal errors happened there. First, there was a mix-up in sharing times, and actually this has been across the board with YouTubers trying to link up because, hey, Joshua V, I see you there. Welcome. Glad you're here. We're all in different time zones. And heck, you and I, Agent Boomer, we have this problem all the time, right? Where I go, no, Central Time, as opposed to you on the Eastern side, right?
Yeah.
Well, it kind of happened with, Maria from T and Telly. I was on with her a little while ago, and we were back. I thought she was all the way on the left coast, but no, she's mountain, which is halfway in between. So I was counting 2 hours, and it was just 1 hour, and it was all a mess. So we got that squared away. But then Dino and I were off, and he thought we were starting an hour or 2 hours earlier than we were, and I'm like, no, this time. And he goes, well, that's the time that I go on. I'm like, oh. He's like, but that's okay, because his show is just premiere. He starts a stream going and lets it play for 12 hours. He says, I'll just get it started and I'll jump into your stream, after about 10 minutes. I says, okay, that'll work. And then he sends me a private message and goes, that's not going to work. I can't do that. I only have the one computer. And if I'm running OBS to run my show and then I jump into yours on StreamYard, it's still the same mic, and everything we're saying is going to go out over my channel. I'm like, no, yeah, that's not going to work. So I think what we're going to do is in 2 weeks, if it works for him, because in 2 weeks that's actually New Year's Eve. If he can do it, then we'll go an hour early, and I'll have a special stream an hour early. Get in an interview with Dino. Then he'll jump to his stream, and I'll jump to the regular, over here. I don't know if I'll split it up or just make it one continual stream or what I'll do, but I'm open to suggestions, what you guys think. Either way, just come hang out here with me, and I'll be a happy camper.
Guests pop in and out, too. That could be a thing.
Exactly. Adega Outlaw, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you. Adega, you've got the wrench for a reason. Drop your link so that people can subscribe to you. He's got some great content over there, and you really should be following him. So I was about to ask you a question, but I don't remember what it was. I haven't even gotten any alcohol in me yet. What's going on with me?
What's wrong with you?
I know. I'm all
Drink her down.
Maybe I didn't get enough sleep last night. Maybe that's what it was.
Yes. I was listening to NPR. And don't say I'm sorry.
Why?
What else is on the radio? I guess they have Christmas music on now. But
there's a conservative talk radio.
Yeah. Okay. Does that still exist?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We've got 2 channels here in Chicago. Believe it or not.
Okay. Anyway, this is what I listened to. It was just I just flipped it on because I didn't have my iPod with me or something. So I was listening to this guy, and he was talking about how we as a society need to get better about getting our 8 hours sleep every night. That you have to have the REM sleep and what's the other kind of sleep? The 2 kinds.
All the other stuff.
Yeah, all the other stuff. Okay, like the regular sleep or the sleep you have when you have
the deeper sleep and the REM sleep.
Okay, and you need to go back and forth. And he says you want to get that 8 hours, and that technically they not take, but like as a society we tend to shame sleepers. Shame sleep about. Yeah. Oh, you're being lazy if you're sleeping too much. And he says, no, you want to get a good night's sleep. You want to sleep. It's a good thing. Okay.
No, I mean, my big problem is, I want to sleep more, and I got to resist that. I got to get up. What they used to say in my old church, push off the bed demons and get up and get moving. Artificer Joni says, let me bring up his, how do I do that here? Bring up his, what he's saying. Christmas in Finland is celebrated mainly on the 24th. Food-wise, the main star is the Christmas ham. Also, Santa lives in, I'm going to ruin this, Korvatunturi Mountain near, for crying out loud, dude, Rovaniemi in northern Finland.
I like those words.
I mean, I'm probably nowhere close to the proper pronunciation on that, but, whatever. So I know that Finland is, way off and around the corner and across some water from, the Balkan states and whatnot. But I know over there they got that Krampus thing going on. Do you guys do anything with the Krampus or any of that, Artificer Joni? Is that part of the celebration? Because I'll tell you, Krampus is a very interesting piece of folklore, and it's getting more and more popular here in the West now. But that Christmas ham, yep. That was growing up. It was ravioli and ham on Christmas Day. Christmas Eve, again, Italian-American family, the night of the seven fishes. So we'd have pasta olio aglio, oil and garlic pasta with 7 different kinds of fish.
Whoa.
We cheated on that. We probably never actually had 7 fishes, We might have 3 fishes prepared 3 different ways, or something like that, but anyway.
That sounds delightful, though.
Oh, yeah. And Sir Torin Clegane just joined us. How you doing, Sir Torin? Good to see you. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, Christmas for us it was 2 different things: Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. Growing up, now I talk about the church, that I used to go to, but yeah, that's what I was talking about. It's separated. You're out there on that isthmus there, and there's all the water between you. I didn't know if you were close enough that some of those traditions might have migrated over. Yeah. See, so it sounds like you guys are getting into the Krampus thing just like we are. I think there's something to be said here. So for us, it was Christmas Eve. Growing up, we grew up Catholic, right? So we'd go to midnight mass. Well, we'd have our Christmas Eve celebration, which was the pasta and the fishes and so forth. And then we go to midnight mass, do all the singing and all that kind of stuff. Then we go home and kids go to bed while the parents did the whatever they did. And then, in the morning, get up, open the presents, have waffles or, donuts or something, some kind of a treat for breakfast. And then early dinner, we'd have, the ham and the ravioli and garlic bread. And 9 years out of 10, that garlic bread got burned. It must be done. I smell it burnt. That kind of a thing. But it sounds like Daniel's not feeling too well. He was having chills since last night. Going to bed, catch the replay tomorrow morning. Daniel, feel better. The recording or the whatever will still be there tomorrow for you to listen to.
Drink plenty of fluids.
Exactly. Non-alcoholic. You're already falling asleep. You don't need the alcohol. Sir Torin, it's meatball sandwiches in my family for Christmas Eve. I've never heard that one before, but yay, good on you. There's nothing wrong with meatball sandwiches, let me tell you. My godmother makes the most perfect meatballs. Better than my grandma, and that is something. Yeah, I hear you. That actually sounds really, really good. God, now I want a meatball sandwich, let me tell you. But no, I get you. How about you, Boomer? What kind of foods do you associate with Christmas Eve, Christmas Day?
Christmas Eve, we try to keep it simpler because a lot of the preparation goes into the Christmas Day food. But years past, we would get like deli cold cuts. You can make your own sandwich with that. But other years, we did Chinese food. I think we might get a lasagna this year to eat on Christmas Eve. Christmas Day, our traditional meal is usually duck. Okay, usually roast duck. That's what we have in my household.
Yeah, Netter doesn't care for duck. A lot
of people don't. It's not for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of greasy, and she doesn't dig that.
Creamy.
Yeah, the only way I've really liked duck so far. I mean, I've tried it different ways. I I'm not exactly sure if they're barbecuing it or if they're frying it, but at the Asian restaurant, they make duck pretty good. You know, it smiles at you. No, I'm joking. They don't actually serve it that way.
Yeah, but we have duck. Sometimes we'll have chicken livers as an hors d'oeuvre. Do you know what those are? It's like you take the chicken livers and you grind them up and you mix them
with pate
and mayo, make a pate out of it, put on a Ritz cracker. Deviled eggs are big in my household. We make our deviled eggs with dry mustard and not horseradish, though. That's the big difference.
That does sound good. My grandmother at Christmas time used to make, just to tide us over because, you know, it was a stretch between breakfast and dinner. She would make these pinwheel type hors d'oeuvres. It was, you know, the flattened out white bread with colored cream cheese and olives. You'd roll them up and slice them. And they looked really cool and they just tasted incredible. I mean, cheap as all heck, but they tasted just flippin' wonderful. I love those things. I could gobble up a whole plate of those darn things. Between me and my grandfather, we kind of did. And then, you know, we had the other finger foods. You'd have a bunch of olives and pickles and, you know, stuff like that.
Never had pickles on Christmas time. That sounds interesting.
The little sweet ones or the little dill ones, you know. Adega Outlaw says he makes prime rib for the family. That's good stuff. Never would have associated with the holidays, but definitely a food for special occasions. My mom loves prime rib. And Christmas Day is ham. Ham everywhere, and I love it. Yep, Netter and I have our ham for this year. We were a little concerned. One place that we went to had no ham, but they did have some turkeys. And then the other place that we went to had some hams, but no turkeys. So it was, I'm very lucky. You know, we live, you know, in a suburban area, just close enough to the city where we haven't suffered too badly many of the supply problems that other people are having, but I've been hearing it's pretty bad out there.
Are hams in short supply this year?
Well, actually, all meats are touch and go a little bit. There was a little while where ground beef was a little rough. But we go to a big, it's not a big box store. It's like a restaurant supply place. And we get these big 10-pound tubes of, you know, ground beef, and we cut it up into 2-pound batches and freeze them. So we've got ground beef, you know, to spare. We've got a big chest freezer, so
Taco Tuesday is covered for many months. Okay, no, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's exactly right. Plus the dollar store never runs out of tortillas, so we're good on that front. Right. But yeah, I'll tell you something. It's funny. I don't remember ever going a year without, you know, my favorite Christmas, you know, meals. But I'll watch A Christmas Story and I'll go, man, I'd really like to get some Chinese food. You know?
Like I said, Christmas Eve is probably a good day to do that on because it's not like the main day, and you could have some nice Chinese food. We've done that before. Get some sweet and sour pork or something.
Well, Netter pointed out, she's like, if I want to make it a tradition, we could do Chinese or pizza or whatever we want for Boxing Day.
Oh, that's a good idea. The day after.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, no reason we can't. I mean, everybody's opening up that day, and you know, so shouldn't be a problem. But that is a strong eggnog.
Now, what about sweet stuff? We haven't talked about the desserts, the confectionery stuff around Christmas time. What do you usually have?
You make a good point. I've really gotten away from the sweets. I used to love sweets, but they kind of turned my stomach these days.
Interesting.
But my favorite memories. I used to really like the chocolate covered Santas. The
Yeah.
cheap ones. The cheap ones are
Oh
just
yeah,
fine.
yeah. You can still get those, like wrapped in the foil and everything. And
Yeah.
oh, yeah,
And you know what's great about them?
hmm
I mean, my mother used to get tons of this stuff. Between me and my brother, she would overbuy,
hmm
And even as a kid, I didn't eat them that much that fast. And when chocolate covered marshmallows sit around long enough, they get kind of stale. But you know what's good to do with them? Pop them in the microwave for about 30 seconds and then put them between two graham crackers.
Perfect.
There you go.
I want to teach you a little trick with ice cream. You know how like you get ice cream, you get a carton, and maybe you'll leave it in the freezer for too long, and it gets iced over, and you can't use it after that. You can use it for milkshakes.
That's a good point. That is an excellent.
Put it in a blender
point.
with some milk. Maybe add some Nestle Quick or something to it. You always add ice to milkshakes anyway, so you can kind of recycle it and make it.
That's a brilliant idea. No, good idea. That's brilliant. Let me see what else. I was never big on candy canes. However, my grandmother used to stay with my uncle owned a marina in Ohio, which is a seasonal business, right? So all summer long, they'd have the boats going out and the bait shop and all that stuff. Come fall, they'd close down, they'd pull all the boats out of the water, stow them. My grandmother and grandfather lived in the back of the marina. There was living quarters there. But in the off season, my uncle didn't want them staying there, so she'd come back to Illinois and stay with us. And every Wednesday, and I'm not sure why Wednesday, other than during the year, Wednesday was her day off, so she still treated it like her day out when she was, on vacation. On Wednesdays, I would go with her. She'd go get her hair done. And then we would go to, remember when the good old days, we were talking about the malls and I was telling you about the Woolworths, lunch counter at the Hillside Mall by us. She'd take me there, and we get a bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich for lunch. And then at the checkout, they had all I'm sure you've seen these. They're about, 6-inch long, wrapped in cellophane, different flavors of candy canes.
Right. You got
butterscotch and
I've heard of them. Yeah.
All kinds. And she would literally go, pick out the ones you want. And literally, if I wanted one of everything, she would have gotten me one of everything. Obviously, I wasn't going to eat them all in one sitting, but she, but over time, I got to my favorites, and there was only like 3 or 4, and I go, let's get that one and that one and that one. And that was a great little memory, but I don't associate that so much with Christmas time. For Christmas time, you think the candy canes, the peppermint ones.
Peppermint. And I'm one of these weirdos that actually loves peppermint and likes peppermint candy canes, but I like the small ones.
I like them too. No. You mean the little ones? They're about that big, right?
Yeah. I like those the best.
I agree with. You know why? Because you can just pop one in your mouth, and you're done.
Feels like the other ones are too much work, doesn't it?
Kinda. Yeah, especially, oh gosh, you like the big ones that are like a foot long and that big round.
I got those a couple Christmases, and I'm like, how am I supposed to eat this again? I think I got a hammer out, my dad's hammer out, and busted it up to try and break it.
Right, and and I'm, look at me. Oh yeah, that. Right, and you get 3-4 inches into it, and what do you have? You have this. You have a steak, is what you have. It gets down to a point, right? You can kill somebody with that thing.
Do some damage with a peppermint candy cane. They even would sell these. You can find them in some stores, like when you're visiting, when you're on vacation and you're visiting, like these weird stores. They have peppermint sticks. They're not shaped as a cane, but they're like a stick, kind of a similar thing. And it's I'm not a fan. I don't hate them though. I would turn one away. But it's like it's too much. Too much at my age. I can't do it no more.
So as I got older, that Woolworths closed up. Mm-hmm. But what we did find was instead, and I think there was a connection. I think there was a connection between the outfit that did the lunch counter at Woolworths and a little restaurant. I think it was fairly regional. I don't think it was across the country, called Wags. And they had the same kind of bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich and, some other things. Something else they had that Woolworths had until they closed up was these incredible strawberry pies. They were seasonal.
Whoa.
And, and we'd get those during the season, too, from there. So, I mean, again, I'm not really associating that with Christmas, but basically the season, the end of summer.
Yeah. Like, you don't see as much seasonal Christmas stuff in the grocery chains these days. Have you noticed that? Like, the brands used to put out stuff all the time. Like, I think Archway had their own brand of Christmas cookies they'd bring out each year. Like, they'd have the regular ones like the windmill and the chocolate chip, but then they'd have, like, Christmas cookies you could buy.
Who is it that does those Santa's favorites? You know the ones I mean?
Have you seen those in stores lately?
Yeah.
Okay, I've seen like a kit you can do to make your own cookies for Santa.
There is, like and I don't know what brand it is. Maybe someone in the chat knows, but they're like, I want to say that they're like the almond sandies and things like that.
Yeah. The crescent moons or wedding.
Yeah, exactly. My grandmother used to make those too. Yeah. Those were the kinds of cookies my grandmother made. And for whatever reason, again, Italian, right? Mm-hmm. No Polish here. But my grandmother used to make kolachkis.
Oh, really?
And they were good. They were really good. And she'd make them at Christmas time. I don't know why. I don't know if maybe growing up she had a friend who was Polish and maybe she associated. I'm not complaining. I loved them.
Well, that's the thing about America. You adopt foods from cultures that your ancestors have come from.
No, that's cultural appropriation.
Yeah, I know. It's just a thing. Anyway, what else did I want to say, though? But my mom still makes Christmas cookies even now, though. She has a special kind of Christmas cookie she makes. It's like a shortbread cookie with homemade icing. It's very nice. They're usually shaped in like the form of a Christmas tree. Others, sometimes she do angels. There'll be another one or a bell. Like a Christmas bell.
My mom used to make, among other kinds of cookies, she would make. I guess they were butter cookies, but she'd roll them out, and half the dough she would mix red food coloring into. And then she would roll a strip of red and a strip of uncolored, basically, twirl them up and make like cookie candy canes. I think she missed out on, she could have added some peppermint extract to them, but she didn't. And I didn't even ever think about that until just now. And they were great, except 80% of the time she overcooked them, so they were the uncolored part was a little too brown, and so it looked like they were brown and red rather than white and pink.
Oh,
a little bit on the dry side, but still a great memory. Well, yeah, good point. Good point. And just for full disclosure, didn't have any bourbon. So I went with Kraken. Rum, I think, goes very, very well with eggnog. It's sweet. I think it works.
So you've unleashed the Kraken tonight.
I kind of have, yes.
Now, were you a big believer? Well, of course, what were your thoughts on Santa Claus growing up? Let me put it to you that way, okay? Like,
so here's the thing about Santa Claus, right? Some of the stories that my family told, right? My dad served in the Navy during Vietnam. Mm-hmm. He served on a tanker, and he was a barber on the ship. That was his primary duty.
Okay.
But when you're in the Navy, you go through the rotation of the duties, right? And he was talking about one night, Christmas Eve, he was on patrol duty up on deck, and you're supposed to look out and, looking for enemy aircrafts, all that kind of stuff. And he spotted an unidentified flying object.
Ooh.
And he went and manned the anti-aircraft gun. And he was just lining it up because it wasn't a friendly. There was not supposed to be anything in the area. And until the guy he was on duty with said, "No, stop. Hold your fire." "What?" He goes, "That's a friendly." "No, there's no friendlies on the dock." He says, "It's Christmas Eve. That's Santa Claus. My dad almost shot Santa Claus."
Okay, that wouldn't have been cool. That would have been a disaster.
No, it's true story. He told me.
I believe you.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too. My dad was you think I'm a drinker? He was a real drinker. You
have one drink a week. He was an alcoholic.
Yes, he was. But so another story was so I was talking about how my grandmother used to stay with us. We didn't have a big house, so when my grandmother stayed with us, she'd sleep in my bed, and my brother had his own bed, and I'd sleep between them on a cot. I thought it was the coolest thing as a kid, but looking back, it was pretty damn uncomfortable. I mean, if I was to sleep in that cot now, I would not be able to move the next day. But 1 year, and I was pretty young at the time, my uncle, the one that owned the marina, this was before he owned the marina, he was going to school to be a chiropractor. And that school was not too far from my house. It was in the Chicagoland area. So he would work. The marina was owned by his uncle before him. Okay, so he used to work at that marina in the summertime, and then he would come back to Illinois to go to school, and at Christmas time he stayed with us. It was just a couple of years. And this 1 year when I was really, really young, so grandma's sleeping in my bed, I'm sleeping on the cot, my brother, we're in the bedroom, and my uncle is sleeping on the front room on the floor, right?
Yeah.
And Christmas Eve comes and goes. I get up in the morning, the presents are all there, and I'm like, "Uncle Richard, did you see Santa?" He goes, "I never even woke up. I'm a heavy sleeper." And he says, "What's this?" And then on the other side from the tree where he was sleeping, there was an elf-sized shoe.
What?
And it was hard plastic. My adult brain thinks maybe it was one of those things that, you buy at the store and it comes with candy inside of it and stuff. And he says, "Look at this." And I'm like, "What's that?" He goes, "One of the elves must have left it." And I'm like, "Well, why is it, rigid hard?" He goes, "Well, when it's out of the possession of the elf, maybe it hardens, maybe it goes back to."
Makes sense.
And I'm like, okay, I get that. So every year I would take that elf boot and put it on the mantle in case the elf wanted to come back and get it, but they never did. And after so many years, my mom said, "You know what? Maybe they're just saying, go ahead and keep it. You can have it if you want it." But Uncle Richard says, "That son of a bitch, he must have moved me at some point last night. I must have been in his way. What an asshole." I'm like, that was my family, Then you wonder why I got such a foul mouth. That's how I grew up. You guys watch The Sopranos, okay? My family was like those people.
Oh, if you check out MeWe, I posted on MeWe the clip from The Sopranos where they have a big pussy as Santa Claus one year. Remember that?
I vaguely, yeah.
Oh, and then Bobby has to be him when, of course, that character is off the show. So Bobby takes over the role, and Bobby is not good with the kids, and it's a.
Yep.
It's a funny scene. I don't want to say it on air, but let's just say a little kid says "F you, Santa" to him, and it's this big disaster. And Tony's getting angry.
I'll tell you what. Before NATO started, their whole tracking Santa thing, I'm sure there was a lot of close calls like that.
Yeah. Now, when you were a kid and you went to go to the mall to talk to Santa, did you think it was him or one of his helpers maybe that was just there? Because, of course, it can't be...
Well, obviously, when I was a young child, I assumed it was Santa until I started asking the hard questions, and my mom said, no, you got to understand that Santa is incredibly busy this time of year. As fast as he can get around on Christmas Eve, he still needs to be at the North Pole,
supervising
everything. He's got whole. It's like Santa Incorporated, but not the current Santa Inc. Okay,
not that piece of trash.
And but I totally got that because you can't talk to the big guy, so you talk to second in command. It's like. Make sure you get this to Santa for me, okay? I'm really interested in that Atari 2600. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's a cookie.
You gave him a cookie?
Oh yeah. I mean, because you gotta grease the palms if you want something. I grew up Italian American. Come on.
Did you had it inside your palm and just shook his hand and no
exactly right. That's the way my grandfather taught me. Because every time my grandfather, like for the holidays or my birthday or graduation or whatever, whenever he'd give me money, that's how he would do it. And I'd be like, why don't you just give it to me? He's like, you never let people see you passing money.
Yeah.
That's how you learn, right?
Never let people. Yeah, because it's.
Holy crap! Do you remember Batman Incorporated?
No.
That period, I think it was in the 90s, they tried to go with the whole idea of multiple Batman mans.
They have a Spider-Man Incorporated. I heard of that, like where Peter Parker and some other said, I'm just going to license it out. We're going to have an army of Spider-Man.
I don't know about Spider-Man, but they did that with Batman, and it was like, you're going to have a Batman in every city or whatever. I mean...
Okay.
There comes a point where you really do jump the shark, It's like... I mean, it's bad enough when you got, 25 different Batmans and women's and girls and boys and, dogs and whatever. But then you start, okay, now we're going to have one in every city. And, okay, come on. When everyone's Batman, nobody is.
I'm Batman, the Brave and the Bold. They have the meeting of the Batman from around the world, and then the Joker interrupts the meeting. Well, here are the Jokers from around the world, and I think one of them looks like a kabuki theater guy from Japan, and it's
makes sense,
they all fight. And you realize that was something in the Batman comics. I guess they had Batman from all around the world. Like I think they had one from Mexico, and they had one from
I don't know, Sir Torin. I guess I never really asked you too much about your background. I'm starting to think you got some Italian going on in the family. Things you've been saying tonight, and I don't have a problem with that. That's a good thing.
But let's see what else. Trying to think.
True that. Morrison does love the Silver Age.
Were you ever stressed about not getting a Christmas present? Like, it's kind of stressful when you really want something. You don't know if Santa's going to bring it to you. You don't know if it's going to be under the tree.
Well, I've told the story of the ad a couple times.
Right. Yeah.
So there was that one, but and of course the Atari thing, right?
Uh-huh.
But I'll be honest with you. I mean, looking back, I was pretty spoiled. I pretty much got most everything I wanted, probably more than I needed, definitely more than I needed. almost wish I could go back in time and tell my mom, you know what? Forget those Micronauts. Screw that shit. Don't bother with the pulsar figure, you know.
Well, that's hindsight, though.
Yeah.
Hindsight is always 20/20, and when you're a kid, you don't know what the top toys are, what isn't. It's not like you can try them out ahead of time, right? You just see the commercials, you may hear from friends, right?
That's exactly it. Yeah. And that was half of it, right? You know, if David or Michael had this and I wanted it, and now looking back, I realize how good I had it by having certain things, and David had other things, and then together we kind of had the collection, right? Because it's more fun to play when you have a friend, right?
Well, that's the thing, yeah. You know, like one kid might get get all of Cobra, another kid get all of G.I. Joe, right?
I had the X-Wing, he had the TIE Fighter,
yeah, exactly.
So it worked out perfectly.
Yeah.
But no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, well, but here's the other thing too. I mean, if I could go back in time, I'd say, you know what? Screw all of that shit. Just take the money, put it in, you know, stocks and municipal bonds, because, you know, come 1990 something, there's much better figures coming out.
Yes, but again, it's like me with video games. What are the video games to buy? You know, I probably would have stuck around with the NES longer, not hopped on the next gen bandwagon as much. But you know, it's hindsight. You don't have information then that you have later on when you're a kid. You do the best you can with the information you have at the time, right?
Yeah.
You didn't know they were going to come out with better toys. I mean, if you think about it, everybody thinks the 80s were like the best toy era, but I guess you're not agreeing with that, or?
No, I am. I absolutely am. I'm just saying that because of the nostalgia thing for the 80s toys, now, you know, like, for example, you got your old original 1970s, you know, 5 points of articulation action figures, right? And now they're putting out the vintage collection. Same characters, same scale, but many more points of articulation. Ball jointed heads and swivel wrists and, you know, rocker legs and, you know, high detail, photorealistic faces and stuff. You know?
Yeah, but you didn't have that back then.
No, exactly,
Use
exactly
your imagination.
right.
It's close enough.
Oh my gosh! I mean, you do a comparison. You look at a retro collection Princess Leia compared to a vintage collection Princess Leia. You look and you go, "Wow, that really looks like, you know, Carrie Fisher." Whereas you look at the old Kenner and you're like, "That looks like a play school toy."
Well, you know, I mean,
it was a representation for your imagination. I mean, that's all toys ever really were, right?
Yeah.
Sir Torrin talks about having an Uncle Junior, and where do you ever see that? But the Italian, yeah, because you always had to name the firstborn, had to name his firstborn son after himself and stuff. And sure, I totally get that.
But let's see.
Oh man, Anui, being surprised is fun though. You know, like, okay, I'm guessing you probably don't mind me sharing this story, Boomer.
Go ahead.
But I got a gift from Age of Boomer for Christmas, and I was so confused at first. Because I didn't realize it was a gift from Boomer. I thought it was something that either Nanette or myself had ordered from Amazon. It came from Amazon. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, I had this on my watch or wish list or whatever for Amazon. I don't think I ordered it. And I'm like, Netter, did you order this for me for Christmas and maybe I wasn't supposed to have gotten the package? She's like, she just shakes her head. She reaches into the package and pulls out the little slip that shows that it was a gift from Age of Boomer. I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, wait a minute. How did Age of Boomer know it was on my wish list? She's like, there was, and she says, however many weeks ago you had a show and you were talking about the, and
you remembered it. Impressive. Okay, yes.
And I'm like, well, I don't know. Maybe I was, 3 sheets to the wind at the time. I don't remember mentioning it, but that makes it a surprise.
We talked about the Planet of the Apes animated series, and you had mentioned that's something I got to look for on DVD one of these days. And after the show, we looked it up and saw it was available, and I thought, I'm going to file that away, get that for Troy for Christmas. But the thing is, when I went to order it, I guess because only the vendors had it at that point, I couldn't get it wrapped and sent it to you that way. And I thought I could always get it sent to me and then resend it to you, and then it'll get here.
Netter said something
6 months from now.
Yeah, Netter said something about you couldn't get it wrapped, and I assumed that meant Amazon doesn't do that.
They do for a lot of things, but they couldn't do it for this item because I think it's only the vendors that had it. I don't know why they couldn't do it for the ornament.
Yeah, because when you're getting something from Amazon, you're either getting it from Amazon, or they are facilitating the sale for a third party.
From a vendor, yeah.
I love my ornament, by the way. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I didn't know if you had that one, but I figured it was fairly recent, and I thought I like peanuts. We have peanut stuff in my dream. It's everyone's favorite, Lucy.
So you guys know that Netter does the rewatch every year of the Peanuts Christmas, or the Charlie Brown Christmas special, which, by the way, we'll be doing again on Christmas, and I'll be simulcasting it on my Discord. Cool. Links in the description so that you can watch along with us if you don't have your own copy. But because she does that every year, that's why Boomer got Netter the Peanuts ornament.
Well, to be fair, that one isn't even a Christmas related ornament, but it's Lucy at her stand, and I think it's Snoopy, and she says, I can't do a lot of advice for someone who can't speak. It was something like that. It's like,
But you know what? I feel like, well, it's an ornament, so we immediately, it's for the Christmas tree, right? But I think we've always associated, the holidays with the Peanuts. At least our generation has.
Definitely. Charlie Brown Christmas special, that was a staple. That's why it was that news story last year when it broke that it wasn't going to be on TV anymore, and you had to get Apple TV Plus to watch it.
So what did I say?
Flipped out.
So what do I always say?
Own
physical media.
But I am going to say,
Netter, can I tell them, since I'm bringing it up, kind of give them a peek about what we're going to be doing next year? Sure. About owning physical media? Netter started a merch store for me. So I'm going to be having some T-shirts available next year. Own physical media with the Friday night last call logo on it. If you guys are
shirts next week, you couldn't wait one more week.
It's Christmas,
Anyways, you'll have the big reveal. Okay,
I'll do the big reveal, but yeah, how many are here? You 5 people that are here, you get the advanced. Well, 5 people and soundtracks with Birdman tomorrow when he listens. We'll know about it. But I'm kind of excited that Netter did that for me, and so Own Physical Media is going to be on T-shirts for the Friday Night Last Call show.
But what I was saying though is that there is something to be said about watching something live when everybody else is. I think that might be. It's like a communal thing, right?
It is. Yeah, it really is.
Well, let's be blunt. Why are we doing these streams? It's a communal thing. Like
exactly,
we're all here talking to each other in the chat. We're live instead of it always being pre-recorded.
Well, I gotta say too, I'm seeing all these channels talking about the Spider-Man movie and whatnot, and it's they gotta dance around, whether or not spoilers and da da da.
Right.
Oh. We're not going to do any spoilers now, but after this point, it's going to be spoilers. So just so you know, and it's like if you're all watching it together, you don't have to freaking worry about it. You all see it at the same time, and then you talk about it at the end. That's kind of the fun of it, right?
Well, what's the spoil about Charlie Brown, though? It's. Have people not seen it?
It's been out for like 50 years now. So if you haven't seen it by now, screw you. It's getting spoiled.
That was actually the first Charlie Brown special, wasn't it? It was the Christmas special, I
I think you're right. I think you're right.
They did another one that wasn't holiday related, or maybe it was about the summer, and then they did Thanksgiving or was it they did that one? They did another one. They did a Thanksgiving. No, sorry. Halloween was next. They did Halloween next, and then Thanksgiving was later. But
I just know that I have them on DVD, and in like a box set for the holiday shows, and each one has 2 features on it, and the Christmas one has the 2 Christmas ones, whereas the Thanksgiving one has this weird, story about the Pilgrims.
Yeah, I couldn't. Yeah, I didn't like that.
I actually remember that being shown in my school as part of the history lesson at Thanksgiving time.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. The Halloween one comes with it's Magic Charlie Brown, which is a good special, but it's not really holiday related. I thought with the Halloween one, they should have included the You're Not Elected Charlie Brown, which was the election day special.
Yeah.
That's always like on certain years, that's always after Halloween, though. So that would have been, I would put that one on with the Halloween one. But.
So first, let me really quick say hi to Matthew Flynn, the Gladiator of Caon, whose channel Netter and I will be on Sunday morning for, I believe we're wrapping up the Ben 10 Ultimate Omniverse. But he says video game recommendation I can give is Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball.
I know.
I am not the big gamer. Is this something you know about, Boomer?
Okay, I don't want to go on a rant right now.
Uh-oh. Okay. Here we go.
There's going to be a rant right now. I'd love to have that.
I don't want to go on a rant, but I'm going to go on a rant.
If it hasn't essentially been banned from the West, okay? They released a newer one years ago, and they wouldn't bring it out because you can't have the hot babes in the skimpy bikinis playing the volleyball anymore.
Oh, I heard something about this. Yeah.
The latest one did not come out over here, and nobody really likes that game anyway. All the idiot journalists were saying, shut up. These games always used to come out in the past. This was a selling point of the Xbox. You used to have like these nerdy guys. Oh, I like, like they're all playing the volleyball game, and it's because why are you playing the volleyball? You're doing it to look at the girls in the bikinis. It's like a Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition game, okay? And it was fun. You could like buy things for the women in the game too, like buying different outfits and gifts, and it's also a volleyball component. Other mini games were there too. But
now these are NPCs that you're buying.
These are the hot fighting game characters from the Dead or Alive fighting game series, and they put them.
It's not enough for you to go on OnlyFans and spend all your money on some chick who doesn't give a flying fig about you. You're gonna spend money on a fake character in a video game.
Okay, can I speak? It's virtual money, like you can go to the casino and play a game, win money, and then spend money.
Gotcha. Okay.
But it's all fake.
It's part of the game.
Money.
Okay.
You're not spending actual
I swear to you, I thought you were talking. I swear I thought you were talking like microtransactions in a game.
It's possible the new one had that, maybe, but we didn't get it. I don't know because we never got it over here in North America because the Eternally Offended didn't like that game series. So Tecmo decided we're just not going to release that. The problem with that would be,
I guess the incentive to buy the bikinis and stuff for the girls is make them more scantily clad. But the fact is, every game out there has patches that you can just download.
Well, these are, I don't know if these were console games. Like you could have a camera, like, look around the room, maybe, I mean, there was no nudity in these games. I'll say that. I mean, there might have been jiggle physics, but anyway.
Yes, jiggle physics.
This is lovely talking.
It's no fun unless there's jiggle physics.
Just that they used to make a big deal out of that. That was a big technological breakthrough. Back in the day.
I agree. It was a great evolutionary jump when the female of the species started to exhibit jiggle physics.
Well, I'm saying the game characters, and sometimes the game characters would jiggle more than the physical woman could. Anyway, look, the point is that this was back
like a bowl full of jelly.
This was back when you had things like Maxim Magazine and games were fun, and now we're living in the puritanical age.
Hey, remember when Playboy had naked girls in it?
I don't want to see. Here we go. This is just where we are now. Let's not get negative. It's Christmas time.
I only write it for the. Actually, you know what? When I originally started subscribing to Playboy, it was specifically for the articles.
No, there's a lot of stuff you could get in that magazine. There's a lot.
When I was in high school. Okay, here's my Playboy story. Okay, when I was in high school, there was a research paper that I was doing on. I think it was Jimmy Carter, and I wanted to reference his interview with Playboy magazine, and I could not get that issue of Playboy magazine because couldn't get it from the school, right?
Of course.
And where else are you going to get it? What other libraries can you go to and find Playboy magazine? And I'm like, this is a totally legitimate source. I found it in... What was that reference that reference book they used to have that used to tell you all the articles, periodical? Come on, you're the librarian, dude.
A database?
Oh, this was before there were databases.
Okay,
this was
I don't.
This
know.
was a book that you would.
Microfiche?
No.
What are you
It was
about?
Shush. I'll teach the librarian here. Let me teach the librarian.
Go ahead,
So the library used to have these books, okay? Kind of like when you go to Joann Fabrics and you open up the book and you find the pattern you're looking for, okay? You go to the reference section of the library and you'd be looking for an article on a particular topic, and it would tell you all the different periodicals that had articles in, and by what year they were and what issue it was in.
Right.
And it was something periodical. It was some periodical reference, okay? So I'm looking up in this reference that we have in our library, I'm looking for interviews by Jimmy Carter, and probably the most prominent was Playboy magazine. So I'm like, okay. I take it up to the librarian. I'm like, I need this magazine. She's like, we don't carry Playboy here. I'm like, I need this. I think this particular librarian was able to work out with me. She got me a copy, like photocopy of the article.
Yeah.
From another library or some other source that they had access to. But I was like, this is freaking bullshit. I'm not going to have access to Playboy because whatever the fuck, and that's why I started my subscription to Playboy.
Okay.
Then I found out that Playboy's a fun magazine.
Okay, yes. From what I remember back in the days in New Jersey, I think there was one library that did
the Kathy Shower figure issue is the one I remember the most.
Okay.
You were saying?
Anyway, from what I remember, there was a library. I think like one library in the county might have it in archives, and maybe they could access it through there. Do you understand? And maybe you could look at it there. You don't want people checking that out and bringing it home, obviously. That could be a bit of a disaster. But anyway. Let's move on.
Matthew Flynn says, I do not regret what I said. I do not regret it either. I enjoy this little tangent you set us down.
Physics and visually nothing to games.
I disagree, Manui. I think that the more realistic, it is.
Look,
I mean, okay, so on a related tangent, okay, I was watching the Corridor guys, Corridor boys, the guys that do the CG, fix the rock in the Scorpion King. They were talking about these details in CG that you normally don't even think about. Like, for example, the way light shines through your skin. Your skin is translucent, and if there's a light behind you, there's a translucence to your skin. Okay. And if you don't put that into your CG work, it looks wrong. It looks off. It looks like a cartoon, or it looks like CG, Okay. If you're going for realism, you got to get all the blemishes. You got to get all the weird things that you don't normally notice, consciously, And I would argue one of those things would be jiggle physics, right? You know, those boobs need to bounce when you run, you know?
Okay.
And if they're not bouncing as much as you expect them to, it's because she's wearing a sports bra. And that gives you information about the character. That's important details.
You know who else? The Dead or Alive volleyball games had a special guest star in them. Do you know who it was? Obviously not. I know what I'm asking. Dennis Rodman played one of the characters in the game.
Dennis Rodman?
Yes.
Was he wearing a dress too?
No, no, he was. I think he was the guy that ran the Paradise Island where they all hung out and went on vacation, hung out on the beach and went in swimming pools. And
him and his boyfriend Kim Jong Who's-a-majigger?
I don't remember. Anyway, I'm just saying that this was years ago. This was back in the wonderful era of the early 2000s when things were crazy and free.
Things are more crazy now. I mean,
but man. Things were free. Like you could get anything you wanted. Like the games were coming out uncensored from Japan finally after many years when they would come, and now they're back to getting.
Okay, let me ask you this, Agent Boomer, because you're the gamer guy here.
Whatever. Yes. Okay. What's up? What do you want to know?
Have you ever played any of the Sims games?
It
doesn't strike me as your kind of thing, but
I purchased Sims games during the 6th generation for consoles. They were able to make special Sims games that were designed for consoles. They weren't the same as the PC games. They were like their own thing, and you could get the Sims busting out, and they were basically because obviously on PC you use a mouse keyboard. It's a different. So they reworked it and made specific versions for consoles, and you could get them on consoles. And they even had the Sims busting out.
I had heard that. The problem with it is that my understanding is I can share content with other PC players, but I can't share content with console players, which kind of sucks.
Really?
Yeah. So, like, if I make a custom house or skin or object or whatever, I can share it on the community, and any PC user that has the same expansions that I used in creating that content can download it for free and use it. But you on your PS, NVIDIA,
this is old
Apple,
now. This
iPhone,
2,
whatever, can't use
GameCube. It. Yeah, you're not going to be able to do that on that.
Yeah.
These are pre-internet consoles, at least the GameCube.
So, Matthew Flynn says, you can buy DOA Extreme 3 butts. It's only an import from Japan.
Well, I don't know.
Maybe I've had too much to drink, but that sounds like word salad to me. What does that mean?
$3.
Bucks.
You probably misspelled. I'm sure you'll see more than $3 in the game. Dun. I'm sorry.
Boom. You know, I swear I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking jiggle physics. I'm thinking $3.
Now I'm going to see if there's a Christmas thing for Dead or Alive beach volleyball. I'm sure there is. Anyway, we were talking.
Wait. What does that name mean? Dead or Alive? Are we talking naked zombies or something?
Okay. Dead or Alive is the name of a fighting game series.
Okay.
And it was just called DOA for short. And in this fighting game series, I guess it'd be Fight, Dead or Alive. It's a fighting game series, and it was kind of a know-nothing series until they started bringing in the hot babes into the series, and it got known for having nice-looking women and probably men too to look at it on the other side.
I don't see a problem here. Okay.
Yes, and then they decided, well, let's make a game where we can have the beautiful women go and play beach volleyball and do other things on this island. You know, and like I said, I would argue it's not even like Playboy.
I again don't see the problem here.
It's more like Maxim magazine, like that Target thing, and you know, I never had it because they never released a beach volleyball game for any console I owned because those were always Xbox exclusive until they came out on PlayStation, and then I think that's when they started saying they can't come out over here, and because it might upset the fourth wave feminists that hate the sexy women in the games now. So that was the thing. So that was, it's old news at this point. They won the fight, but yeah.
This is probably something we'll get into on a future Geeky Geezers, but let me just say this. I really feel like And we've talked about this on Geeky Geezers, that I think that a lot of the economics is starting to do its beautiful work, right? Where we're starting to get the things we want because people like making money. Okay? And Get Woke, Go Broke is proving itself over and over and over again. And I'm sorry to those of you that are more sensitive, but sex sells, okay? Men like to see scantily clad women bouncing, okay? That's just the way it is. And if you decide that you're going to take a sexy woman from a manga and put her in a live action and put her in a burqa, don't be surprised when nobody watches your show and you cancel after one season, okay? Just saying. So
it's funny. We were talking about this on
Soundtracks with Birdman.
No, the other one I was on this week. Hold on, Matchstick's channel, Mr. Matchstick.
Jeez, you're on so many shows. Who knows how many shows you're on?
It's two. Yes, it's a lot this month. Anyway, but we were talking about the Dead or Alive movie. They made a movie based off the Dead or Alive games back in the day. It has Eric Roberts as the main villain too, which is kind of funny.
Wow.
And it's basically, and it has all the beautiful women except it's live action, obviously. And they even have a cut point in the movie where they all decide to start playing volleyball. And it's a fun little movie. I think it was.
That does sound fun.
It was directed by the guy that did the choreography, I believe, for like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. So all the fight scenes are pretty good, and it's one of the better video game adaptation movies. It's PG-13. It's a lot of fun, so that's not bad. But you know, maybe we'll have to do a rewatch of that sometime next year. We'll do a rewatch of the Dead or Alive movie if you're up for it.
No, I mean, if you think it's good and you think I'd enjoy it, I mean,
I got a kick out of it. It's a little bit campy, but it's fun, and it did got a brief theatrical release, like for 2 weeks, one summer.
But I do feel like there is a sense that you got to start giving people what they want, or they won't buy it. I mean, this is simple economics 101. And we're seeing it over and over and over again, whether it's Disney and Lucasfilm and all that. Or
I'll even say with this new Spider-Man movie, people seem to like it. I haven't seen it, so I can't judge it one way or the other. But I will say from the trailers, what do we want? We want to see Doc Ock back, Green Goblin back. They're getting the old actors back. We want to see Spider. That's in some ways maybe they are in a way giving the audience.
Although I will not spoil anything, and I will not, ruin anything for anybody. I have seen all the spoilers. I think I've seen all the spoilers. I think I've gotten them all by this point. And honestly, me personally, I don't think I'm interested. I'm hearing a lot of people that I respect a great deal saying they enjoyed it. It's the best thing ever. Fan service. The fans will love it. This is the way you do a sequel, blah, 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 blah. But I heard one person, whom I also respect, say, yeah, there's a lot of that kind of stuff, and that kind of stuff is good, and it's a fun movie to watch, but if you think too much about it, it doesn't make a lick of sense. And I'm like, okay, I'm not, because I haven't even seen the last Spider-Man movie, and I didn't see any of the Andrew Garfield films. So I'm like,
oh man,
I can do without
Garfield
this.
Movies. I liked on Red Letter Meeting, like he goes up to Dr. Connors. Hey, Dr. Connors, I want to know a little bit something about lizards. I don't know why you want to know anything about lizards. And like he's scratching the scales underneath the jacket. I think that was a scene from that.
Real quick, your friend Keely Chow is here. Hey, Keely, how you doing? Thank you so much for being here.
We're talking about Christmases long past, but we got derailed because someone brought up Dead or Alive beach volleyball.
And then somehow we ended up on Spider-Man.
And somehow we ended up on Spider-Man. Spider-Man should have had a cameo on Dead or Alive beach volleyball, but that did not happen.
Help me out. I'm not good with acronyms.
What does that say here?
FNT Raid?
Oh, for the love of Mike. Is that FNT? Is that digital currency thing that I don't know anything about? where you can make yourself.
Fucking Ninja Turtles. I don't know. Friday Night Tights raid. Oh, okay. So you were over on Friday Night Tights, and then you came over here to, encourage me because I'm a nobody with only, 300 and some subscribers.
Hey,
Thank you,
know
Keely
what?
Chow.
Here's the deal. At least your channel's growing, but I want, you're getting up there. You'll get up to 1,000 at some point. Just keep at it.
I know, and this is exactly why, I'm doing the socialist media thing, and I'm, hanging out with the. I'll tell you what, you want to grow your channel, hang out with PJ from Orville Nation. He's I'm gonna hire him as my manager because he's the one that really tells you what you need to do and pushes you and whatnot. But I'll tell you what, I would do anything for views, but there's a lot of things that I won't do, and I won't black pill, and I won't hate everything, and I won't piss all over people that do like something. I just literally 30 seconds ago said I have no interest in the current Spider-Man movie, but oh my gosh, I'm so happy for all the people that I see posting that are enjoying it, you know?
And like I said, we'll talk more about it on Sunday. Looks like a big win for Sony again. They just had Ghostbusters coming out. Now they got this. And I guess, did the Venom movie do well as well? Did that do well too? It feels like all these other companies, they were all doing the we have to be top in the streaming wars, and Sony just said we just want to be top in releasing movies in theaters and getting people.
I just hit the bottom of my drink and it was all rum and nutmeg.
Are you okay there, dude? Dude, anyway, let's. Did Netta want to say something?
No, she's concerned because I just messed up my camera setup and stuff.
I don't know. I can still see your face.
No. I've got drinkerage here. I'm gonna dilute now.
So I'm trying to think. Oddly enough, the presents I remember from a kid more than a lot of the toys or the board games I'd guess. Remember board games? You get any?
So I just saw a video. Some YouTuber that I follow did a video about Mousetrap. Did you ever play Mousetrap?
Oh, love Mousetrap. I had one of those. I think that was a birthday present, but I did get it one year.
Oh, you did have it.
Oh yeah, I did have Mousetrap.
I did not have it. I played with it over at my buddy.
It was a cool game.
I keep talking about David Hankey. He had all the toys that I didn't have. And I'm not entirely certain that he had all the parts for Mousetrap. I don't think we ever successfully, set it up to catch the guy in it,
No, I did. I was able to do that. I was able to get it to do what it was supposed to do. You know what? Another toy series like Mousetrap, you're really supposed to play the game, but sometimes you just set it up just to connect the board.
Video that I was watching specifically talked about the fact that originally it was just set up to be a Rube Goldberg toy where you set up the Mousetrap and try and make it work. And then who was it? Parker Brothers or whomever it was that put it, Milton Bradley, whoever it was that put the damn thing out, said, no, it needs to be a game. And we need to have dice and we need to have a board and, something that we can relate to sell it. But honestly, everybody who bought the damn thing, I don't think anyone actually played the damn game. They just...
I think I played the game a couple times. It wasn't bad, but I do agree that I think that the company didn't understand what they had. I think you could
I agree.
More different Mousetraps and release those for kids to buy. They asked for Christmas, like different... Because the whole thing is, I know you didn't like the show Elementary, but the opening credits you would at least appreciate, because the opening credits for Elementary, it's almost like... It's like a fancy Mousetrap Sherlock setup where you get to see all the things enacting and the hamster's running the wheel and then it starts something else going, and it's like he did this in his spare time as a mental exercise. You understand? And it's
Matthew Flynn is saying, wasn't that a Meatloaf song? Yes, it was. I was doing a parody of I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. What were you going to say, Nutter?
Try getting the Mousetrap game after it's gone through 4 other siblings. I ended up with the slide, a ball, and the board itself that it sat on.
Yeah. So with David, like I said, some pieces were missing, and I don't think we were ever able to do it. If it went through multiple hands with Netter's siblings. Yeah, I totally get
I bet
that.
you can still get Mousetrap. I don't know.
So now I'm starting to feel like the chat is starting to pass notes around, purposely using acronyms so that I don't know what they're talking about.
No, Matanui is just doing a clarification. Okay, he's saying Age of Boomers thinking NFT, otherwise known as a scam. I am trying
What's
to
NFT?
Non-fungible token.
I've heard of those. I still don't understand what the fuck they are.
This is. There's a scene on Boardwalk Empire where when I guess Nucky Thompson, like, he runs into this lovely young woman on the boardwalk and she says, "I'm from the future." "Well, you're from the future. You're here now. How can I tell if you're the future?" "We'll walk through this booth." And he walks in the booth and he sees an early television set and sees her picture on it, and he doesn't know what to make of it because he's a man from the 20s and 30s and he's of that era, and TV is sort of beyond, and it's making him uncomfortable. And I'm sort of feeling that way with stuff like NFTs. I don't understand it.
Good. I'm not the only one.
Okay, but he says it's a scam. I know there was some video game where you would play and you could win the chance of having your thing turn into an NFT, and people.
Good. I'm not the only one. Thank you, Joshua.
And all this other nonsense, and it's just what did I want to talk about though? We were talking about board games though. I thought that if you liked Mousetrap, the cool toy you should buy that was sort of like that was the Domino Rally toys. Remember those? Domino Rally?
I do. Really, all they were was for people that like the whole concept of setting up domino things that wanted to do them faster. So you could set up whole long tracks of them. Yes. Quickly rather than one at a time. That's really all Domino Rally was.
You would still do little pieces that were one at a time, but then you'd have ready-made ones too that would help you along.
Yeah.
They were also lighter than dominoes, and I think that helped with the setup. I think they were really neat little toys. I don't know if they still make them. Maybe they don't, but they were. If you were into that sort of thing, like setting up all these fancy contraptions of the dominoes flying all over the place, and just it was neat. I did appreciate those toys.
Yeah, you got me curious, Artificer Joni. Can you send me the link? Because I'd be interested in... That sounds...
Yeah, send us
really?
the link.
How old are NFTs? I thought they were like really, really recent. Do they go back as far as Deep
Space
Nine?
I heard for the first time this year, I think, like earlier this year. I don't know how long they've been around for, though, but I first heard of them this year. It almost sounds like this, like something to do with cryptocurrency, but I could be wrong. It's reminding me of that. What makes things worth I don't know.
My understanding, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, the concept is that you create some piece of art.
A digital icon, or I don't know, yes.
And you can sell it as an NFT. And owning that NFT means you own the original, even though it's something that can be duplicated forever. I'm not entirely certain what value that is, but people assign... I mean, I guess it's no different from anything else. Nothing has value unless you ascribe value to it.
Is it like you make a painting and you can make your own prints of that painting? Because I know some artists do that where they only make 100 prints of the painting.
Exactly. So one would argue that I could go online and get an image of the Mona Lisa, but I don't actually own the Mona Lisa, right? Well, if Leonardo da Vinci made the Mona Lisa as a piece of digital art, he could sell it as an NFT. And then I could physically own that NFT, and I could say, look, you can make as many copies as you want. They're meaningless. I own the NFT. I own the original. I own the physical digital media. Yeah. I think that's... So whoever it was who said, it's a bunch of bullshit, well, it's true. Kind of the same way gold or diamonds having a great deal of monetary value. It's bullshit. They just have value because we ascribe value to them. Remember what I've always said. Nothing has any more value than you're willing to pay for it. Okay?
The gold is pretty.
if you have an original 1976 Luke Skywalker action figure with a telescoping lightsaber mint on card, it's incredibly valuable because if you put it on eBay, people will start bidding it up to thousands of dollars. But what we're really talking about is a piece of plastic that could easily be reproduced. And people do. I mean, Stan Solo makes copies of the figure and the lightsaber and the boxes, and you could buy his reproductions that look as good or better than the original, but they're worth $60 because that's what you would pay Stan Solo for. But it'd be thousands of dollars to get this original one that's probably got, yellowing on the bubble and stuff because it's old. Why is it valuable? Because at auction, somebody wants it so badly, they're willing to spend a bunch of money on it. Money is another great example. Money's valueless. It's paper and, tin, but it represents something to us.
Yeah. Well, and you put the president's...
Thanks, Artificer. I'll check that out later on when I, sober up.
I'm trying to think, though. I got Fireball Island one Christmas. Remember I showed you the commercial for that?
Fireball, the cinnamon whiskey?
No, Fireball Island, the board game with the volcano on it, and it was like Indiana Jones. You had your characters; they had to get to the diamond at the top of the island, but the volcano might erupt, and you don't remember that game?
I don't know. It sounds like someone made a board game based on Joe versus the volcano.
I never seen that movie.
It's not bad. Check it out.
All right.
It's the other movie with Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't realize she was in that as well. Meg Ryan. Oh, she kind of disappeared.
I don't know what to tell you. I mean, she. But as I recall from Joe versus the volcano, there's a scene that's very, very similar to the nuking the fridge scene, but it's incredibly funny. And it's meant to be funny.
So it's a comedy.
Kind of romantic comedy.
Okay, let's see. What else? I got Shrieks and Creeks one Christmas. Do you know what Shrieks and Creeks is?
It sounds familiar, but I'm not sure.
I kept trying to bring that up on a good old days. I'll bring it up here, though, because I could never figure out a way to bring it up.
I can't figure out how to work it into good old days. So
I can't. I've tried. I even tried it with the spooky toys thing. But, okay. Shrieks and Creeks was this board game, and it came with a talking tombstone.
I hate to say this. People are going to start knowing what I'm going to say before I say it. David had this. David Hankey, yeah. I played this. I know! He had freaking everything that I didn't have.
This was my favorite board game growing up. You needed a tape recorder to use it, or you had to borrow a tape recorder from your parents. I had a tape recorder. One Christmas, I think I said, I want a nice utilitarian, old-school tape recorder, the ones...
I'm sure that's exactly how you asked for it, too.
What? No, I think...
I want a nice utilitarian, old school...
I want a nice utilitarian, old-school tape recorder, not like a boombox, like the kind you see in movies when they're playing, what the Zodiac Killer was saying or something, one of those.
Breaking, there's no stopping us. No stopping.
Okay. Anyways, you would hook it. You could hook it up to any kind of device that played tapes. You got a tape with it, and then Sir Simon Shriek would start talking, and he would say you have to. You'd roll the dice, and your character would land on a place, and if they land on a certain place, you have to take your character key and the room key and put them into the talking tombstone, and that would make the talking tombstone talk, and it would tell you what to do. And there are all these little bits. Like one was, there's a gorilla loose in the foyer or whatever. Go back to the dining room, and you'd hear the gorilla talking, then you'd hear Tarzan screeching, in the background. And it was different things where Boris has dug up a little snack, and you see him digging something up. Boris, reference Boris Karloff, and it was creepy, but it was fun creepy. Do you know what I'm saying?
Did you ever play Nightmare?
I didn't have that one. That was the VHS one, right?
Yes,
I'm
the
sure
VHS board game.
did
Yeah.
every parents group get angry at that game because it had the guy that looked like the Emperor on it, and like the kids of the game, yes, Dream Master, or whatever, like that you see on the commercial. It'd be like it's a little indoctrination into.
I don't know
game.
because I was in college at the time, and my girlfriend at the time, her family had it, and I played it. I thought it was pretty damn cool. Yeah, it was cool.
Okay. Did you get it for Christmas one year, or did you
No.
just get it on yours? See, the Shrieks and Creeks I got for Christmas.
That let's face it, a VHS or even what you're talking about, a cassette thing.
Cassette audio tape, yeah.
They're very much of their time because nowadays it would be DVDs and
What would it come with
whatever.
now? Maybe a CD, or maybe you could get a little
Or a
MP3
thumb
player.
drive.
Or no, actually, the Talking Tombstone would just be an MP3 player. That's what it'd be. It
Yeah.
would be like a mini MP3 player that would just play the Shrieks and Creeks track, and it would come on when you put the. They should redo Shrieks and Creeks.
Right?
They're never going to. You know what? I don't understand why they don't with some of these old board games. Why they don't make like digital versions where you can play on your latest game console or PC, and be able to replicate the.
Well, I know they've got like
virtual.
they had computer versions of like Risk and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
but like stuff like Dungeon. Remember Dungeon? You remember Dungeon, don't you?
Is that the board game?
The board game made by TSR. I think they were.
I do have it. I've never played it.
It was an attempt to make. I think the original version came out in late '70s, early '80s, and they've re-released it periodically over the years. I think they're still releasing it now. It was an attempt to make. I think it was like Dungeons and Dragons. If Dungeons and Dragons was a board game.
Yes.
And
Like I
that's
said,
how
I
would
do
describe
have
Yeah.
it. And although, I mean, I have it and it's literally never been opened. It's still in its shrink wrap. If I wanted to play it, I'm not even sure the VHS would play. And if it did...
No, you're thinking of Dragon Strike.
Oh, yeah, that's Dragon Strike.
Dragon Strike was another one. Dungeon didn't have
Oh, Dungeon. Okay.
Yes.
So I didn't own Dungeon itself, but there was an American Science and Surplus by me. I don't know if you know what American Science and Surplus is.
I don't.
It's think like an army surplus store, but they've also got like science surplus where you could get like beakers and electrical devices and stuff that teachers would use in school, right? But they've also got literally surplus stuff from other industries, including toy companies. So like pieces of model kits and board games, not the whole board game necessarily, but like they have a whole bunch of extras, right? And Dungeon, or whatever game it was you just said,
Dragon Strike.
Is that it came with these plastic pieces that were orcs and skeletons and stuff like.
Are you thinking of Hero Quest?
Maybe that was it. Maybe it was Hero
Hero
Quest.
Quest, which recently got a crowdfunded re-release.
Yeah.
That will be getting re-released in stores. So you can
those little plastic pieces, which came on these trees, like a model kit.
Right.
You could buy those for $1 a piece at
cool.
American Science and Surplus. So what I used to do was I would buy. Every time we'd go in, I'd just buy up everything they had. So I had armies and armies of orcs and goblins and skeletons and, all this stuff. And then, I'd paint them and I'd use them in my Dungeons and Dragons game. So, if I was running a game or if, someone else was running a game, said, I need 25 skeletons. Okay, here you go. Boom.
Hey, cool stuff to have a visual representation in your game.
And then someone I was playing with one time said, hey, isn't this from whatever the board game was? I'm like, fuck if I know.
Hero Quest. Well, no, if you are interested, it will get a re-release in stores. I mean, of course, you play regular D&D. I think the purpose of Hero Quest, Shaq can correct me if I'm wrong, was to make a version of D&D that relied on physical props and stuff like that. But I did get that for Christmas one year when I was younger. But I could never get friends to get into those kind of games, though. So kind of just sat on the shelf. But I What was I thinking of though? I You know what the funny thing was? I remember being a kid. I always wanted Star Trek toys, and they didn't make them really. They,
Well, Mego had most of the licenses for that.
I think I got a Scotty figure from Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan or Star Trek III. Like I would have liked to have bought, like with the Star Wars toys, I would have liked to have bought a Bird of Prey or an Enterprise playset or something, and have the figures. But you couldn't find. I never saw them anywhere. Did you? Maybe you did.
Oh,
I don't
I did. Yeah, I had an incredible collection of Star Trek stuff, and I mean, to this day, I still do. But,
I know that TNG got toys when it first came on the air. That was a big thing, right? They had you could buy the figures of the new crew.
I had a lot of those Playmate figures, and ended up selling, actually, Netter literally just today sold like $60 worth of figures to somebody.
Yeah, those 9 figures I had sitting around, and I was going to sell them for like 70, and made a deal with the guy for 60. So I got 60 extra bucks for Christmas.
Cool. You could buy some Godiva chocolates with that.
Not anymore. It's like I used to like it because I used to work for them many years ago. But now it's like the pieces of chocolate are minuscule, and it's like $45 a pound. It's really ridiculous.
Everything's gone up though lately, hasn't it? I've heard clothes are getting hard to find in stores, like getting proper clothes these days. Dark Tower, boom. We talked about that. That was one of the highest rumbled stories. We did the Dark Tower when I actually clipped that.
I have Dark Tower. The problem is that the tower itself is broken, and I need to get it fixed. And there are people online that'll do it. I just got to get around to actually doing it. It's a fun frickin' game.
It's one of the best board games ever made. The tower was electronic and it was interactive. Did Vincent Price do the commercial for that, as a memory serves, or was Orson Welles someone famous?
Yeah, I think you're right.
I remember that.
You might be right.
It's neat though, because you would build your own towers. Like, there was 4 players, right? And each person would get a section of the board. And I think you had to build your armaments for the other person, but then you'd also have to deal with this tower, and like you get like brigands invading you and other things, like it would flash things. Was there a dragon too on the board as well? Oh, I'm alone.
No, I'm here. Sorry about that.
Was there like a dragon piece?
Yes, what would happen is there was a single dragon piece, and what would happen is you'd have to move the dragon whenever the electronic thing told you to. And yeah, there was always a possibility that you'd be attacked by the dragon. He'd steal some of the stuff you had and whatnot, because you were going around from kingdom to kingdom. I think there were like 4 kingdoms. You had to visit 3 kingdoms, get 3 keys, get back, and then go into the tower, fight the dragon, and then you'd win. But yeah, the dragon could come around at random times and attack you. You'd get attacked by brigands. And it was a random number of brigands compared to how big your army was, and somehow the computer kept track of how big your army was compared to theirs, and as yours went down, it kept track of that until you died. And you'd have to keep track of things like how much food you had, how much on a little pegboard. But the computer, very simple computer, kept track of all this information itself. And it knew when you were starving, when you were out of food, when you were out of armies, when you were outnumbered, things like that.
Yeah, it was neat. It was a neat little device, and I'm trying to remember. I had a lot of fun when I did play it growing up. That's one. I don't realize why they don't do a re-release of it. Maybe it's a licensing issue, or maybe because they're crowdfunding board games all the time now, even bringing back old ones like Hero Quest. So I'm wondering if maybe Dark Tower, if there's ever been an attempt to bring that game back. It would be neat if they did. But yeah.
We've got one.
Yep. So, yeah, some great toys, some great Christmases, some great memories.
You just have to get that tower fixed.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you.
I'll tell you something else. I've been incredibly remiss and incredibly lazy. I've got some pretty cool games. And I've got a built-in person to play with, and we never do. We spend so much time making YouTube videos and, all this kind of stuff. And I could be playing, I literally have the Sabak game from Solo Star Wars Story, right? And I've got the Djarik set from Disney, whatever, the Disney Star Wars store or whatever.
We got Cards Against Humanity.
Cards Against Humanity. Oh, have you ever played Cards Against Humanity?
I played it, yes.
That is freaking fun.
It's popular at universities. I have played that one. It's like a harsher version of Apples to Apples.
Yes, it is. It's like Apples to Apples, except for degenerates.
Come on, they're making fun. You can make fun of Anne Frank in that game. What is wrong with people?
Degenerates.
It's like
degenerates. So one of the things I was talking about on Tea and Telly with Maria was, because we were talking about a lot of the things we're talking about here, holiday traditions, holiday memories, and so forth. But what's interesting is Nanette and I have some great holiday traditions that we've built into our lives since we got married that don't come from our childhood. They come from Star Trek. And, the whole Klingon thing, right? The Klingon Christmas Carol started here in the Chicagoland area and played here more than any other venue that it got around the country. And the Klingon Christmas Carol tells the story of the Feast of the Long Night, right? Where Scrooge, is visited by the spirits of Ramnite, past, present, and future, because he never went through the rite of ascension, and he's living a dishonorable life. And when he dies, he's going to Grethor. He is not going to make it to Stovokor. Anyway, the Feast of the Long Night, of course, every planet has, a solstice, a time when there is a longer night, and a corresponding time in the summer when there's a longer day. But as a cleric of Boreth, I have postulated that it is kind of a universal cultural truth that if you live on a planet that has, if you've evolved with agrarian and hunting as your way of life, you're dependent on seasons, and those lean seasons of the wintertime are the harshest times.
Yes.
And so you have to conserve your food. You've got to come together in community, share your resources, look for alternate sources. How can you make your food last longer, stretch, dried foods and stuff like that. I've even gone so far as to write a paper about why I believe Gach is an important part of the Klingon life. I mean, when you can go out and hunt for Targ, right, and other creatures, and you can fish for Koskari and so forth, why would you be eating serpent worms? Well, because when the prey is not around, you need protein to survive. When you've killed a Targ for your family, and it's the holidays, and another family comes to visit you, you kind of need to stretch your bounty. So you add some Gach, along with some other foods. It's not like, Klingons are carnivores. They're as omnivorous as anyone else. So we eat Zimkach and, so many other, fruits and vegetables. But yeah, so
Stuffed tobash legs.
Stuffed tobaj legs for
Ooh.
absolutely for well, that's mostly for kitlope traditionally, but you get the idea. So, because we host many of the Klingon parties in the Chicagoland area, we've had kitlope parties and ramnete parties and so forth. So we have to. I've learned to make these dishes, and I've had some missteps. Heart of Targ. They don't have any targs on Earth, but there's other animals that are similar, and I realized, not everybody likes to eat, organ meat. So maybe I need to find something that looks good but tastes better. So I'm finding other options. And on my Kartan the Klingon Cleric channel, you can find my recipe and a cooking video on how to make gach that looks like the serpent worms you see on the show, but is actually really, really good. Very, very palatable. And in about a week or so,
It's not worms, your version.
It's not actually worms, yeah. No. It's actually... what they used in the show was a combination of udon and soba noodles.
Okay.
Which have a little bit of soy sauce to brown it a little bit, but a little other coloring. But that's really all it was. And it's pretty bland. So my recipe calls for using those noodles as though they were the rice or the noodles in a stir fry. And I mix in stir fry seasoning and bean sprouts and egg and, some other vegetables and whatnot. Still looks like what you see in the show, but it's damn yummy,
Yeah. Sounds good, yeah.
He gets requests.
I have gotten requests. Honestly, my buddy Mark says I make the best gach in the quadrant. I think he's very generous. But that's why I put the video out. I'm like, look, I can't make it for, everyone in the, that all the Klingons that are, here on Earth, but, you can make your own, and here's the recipe. And for the Feast of the Long Night, just like the Italians, if you are used to eating meat and meat is no longer available because the animals have all migrated, to warmer climates, where do you go? You go to the frozen lakes and rivers, and you punch through the ice, and you pull out fish. So one of the staple fishes for Klingons is Pipius claw. And I've got a great recipe for Pipius claw that I will be doing a video for in the future, in the next week or so, because it's a dish that we really like. Goes not only for the Feast of the Long Night, but for the Italian, Feast of Seven Fishes on Christmas Eve. So I'll be recording myself making that dish, and I'll be putting up that video on my...
We made that once for one of our get-togethers with actual crab legs. And some patak came along and ate all the crab legs and left the center for everybody else. I was pissed.
Yeah, I don't use crab legs anymore.
Wow.
In fact, it's not crab legs that they use in the show. You know what they use in the show?
What?
Chicken feet.
What?
Which are way, way cheaper.
There you go.
Way cheaper. And you know what? Totally edible. And a lot of people do eat them. And if you boil them in a fish or chicken stock, not too bad. Kind of yummy.
Okay, well, I'll take your word for it.
Because you won't try it, right?
I don't know. I've had frog's legs.
I have too. That's pretty good stuff too.
What did I want to say to you, though? I have a question on Star Trek. I always heard this mentioned on Deep Space Nine. Why is the Eichelberry tort like this big deal? What is an Eichelberry? What Eichelberry tort? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
It was always mentioned on Deep Space Nine. I don't know if it was a Bajoran dish or something. They would always try to get it in the replicators. Eichelberry Tort. I think that's what they called it.
Let's see. Eichelberry Tort. Yeah. What is it? It doesn't say.
Never mind. Maybe
Jake Sisko recommended Eichelberry Tort to Tumac. The dish was a favorite of Benjamin Sisko and often ordered it from the replicators, enjoying it with Rocticino. Rocticino is a Klingon coffee. Mm-hmm. Benjamin Sisko considered having Eichelberry Tort after telling Jake about his first coffee date with Cassidy Yates.
Okay.
It does not say what.
No, so they.
You're right though. It's either Cardassian or Bajoran since it doesn't say.
Gotcha. Do the Klingons have any desserts, or is that like a thing?
Sure.
Oh, they do. Okay.
Absolutely. So one dish, and it's really just a candied fruit, is zimkach. So if you've ever had dried apricots. Basically the same thing. Okay. But what I would do is I would candy them in like a maple syrup.
Gotcha.
There is Rokeg blood pie, which, just like many British dishes, there's two different varieties. There's the pudding version and there's the savory version. So there is a Rokeg blood pie that would be like a duck blood pie or a meat pie, or you could have a dessert dish which is mostly gelatin.
Okay.
Of course, Klingons have chocolate dishes. They have something that's very much like chocolate, and they love chocolate from Earth. So you can always make a Klingon
They like chocolate
happy.
from Earth. That's interesting.
Absolutely. They like coffee. They like chocolate. That's why, like I said, there is a Klingon version of coffee called Rocticino. It's like it's very much like an espresso, or a cappuccino.
Okay. What about Vulcans? Do Vulcans have good food, or is it just?
Vulcan food is known for being very bland. Vulcans are like the Puritans of the Star Trek universe.
Right.
They don't want anything that's too, exciting that will elicit emotion. So most Vulcans are vegetarians. They like something called plomeek soup, which would probably be like a tomato or a leek soup in, human terms. They eat a lot of greens, probably some version of tofu. I mean, Vulcans,
they're like the elves of Star Trek. Let's be honest here. It's like the elves. Like
lemnus bread, I guess. I don't know.
I'll say this. I had some issues with those Hobbit movies, but there's a wonderful scene when the dwarves are visiting and they're like, what are we supposed to do with this? And they give them like salads. It's like all leaves and like greens and stuff. They're like, what am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah. I love and honestly, I think Star Trek Enterprise gets a bum rap. I think there was some great things about that show. There was a scene where Captain Archer, T'Pol, and who was the engineer?
I don't remember.
Netter knows. She liked him.
What?
Who was the engineer on Enterprise? Tucker. Mm-hmm. They're getting together for a meal at the captain's table. And T'Pol, I think, asked what they were having for dinner. And Tucker said something like, I don't know, it was like prime rib or something like that. And she like got this look on her face. And Captain Archer starts laughing and goes, no, we know you're vegetarian. Chef is got something coming up for you, a salad or something like that and whatnot. And of course, I mean, just like you'd expect, they had on the table, they had like a glass with what are they called? Breadsticks in it. And everyone took one, and DePaul took one and put it on her plate. And she takes a knife and fork and goes to cut it, and the thing shatters and, pieces go all over. And Tucker's like, it's easier to just use your fingers. And she's like, Vulcans don't eat with their fingers or whatever. And he's like, okay, well, eat however you want. And, by the end of their chit chat, she's been saying something and she's making a point, and eventually by the end of what she's saying, she says, and with enough patience, one can find they can do just about anything. And she's been sitting there with a fork in one piece of the breadstick, and she has cut through it in a sawing motion, and she's literally able to eat the breadstick with a fork and knife. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool, because it's the kind of action that you don't see her really doing, because everyone's having this very natural conversation, and she just leads the conversation back around to this point, and then she punctuates it by eating the breadstick. And Archer kind of chuckles, and Tucker's like, whoa.
Do Klingons use utensils?
For serving mostly, but by and large, yeah, just use your fingers. It's just easier.
It's like medieval times, right?
Absolutely. And in fact, somewhere, well, I've taken down most everything that I had on Facebook. I'll be closing my account pretty soon, but there was a picture of me eating gach with my fingers.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's how you do it.
Absolutely. It's fun. Yeah, I mean, that's, and so, yeah, so the back before the whole Koof thing hit, every year we'd have the Klingons over for, in October, we'd have them over for, Chitlop, which is kind of like, Veterans Day / Memorial Day for Klingons, and it's a big celebration with lots of food, stuffed tobaj legs.
Cool.
Closest I can get is chicken legs, and I have a recipe for stuffing the legs with, a cheese and nuts, and then you tie it up with twine.
Cool.
And then, yeah, for Ramnete, having the Pipius claw and the gach and so forth. Well, you serve gach at just about every meal, so.
Yeah, I guess gach is a Klingon staple. Huh?
I have actually made the comparison that gach is to Klingons what pasta is to Italian humans.
Or potatoes to other humans.
Or potatoes to the Irish, sure. Exactly.
What did I want to make a point of that? You know what all this talk of food and Star Trek is reminding me of? Do you remember the buffet scene on TNG? You might...
Well, there's more than one that I can think of.
Here is the one I'm thinking of. It's the one where they had to entertain these aliens, right? And this one alien kept doing things to agitate Worf. Do you remember? And he's like... and like Dr. Crusher's trying to explain, it's a buffet. You get up and serve yourself. I'm not going to get up and serve it. You, Klingon, you get me food. Remember that? And like Worf is on his best behavior, and he's getting angry, and he's like, I don't like him. He is arrogant. He gives orders and all these other things. Yeah. And like Data says, yes, but you share those qualities in abundance. And he gets even angrier. And then finally, at some point, he just decks the guy. And then the guy starts fighting back, and basically turns out that he actually was trying to do all this to get Worf to punch him because he wanted to fight a Klingon, and then they actually had like they did some I guess they did some physical martial arts workout where they fought each other. He was very happy about that. The alien.
Gotcha.
Used. And
I when I think of the buffet scene, the one that I think of is when Worf's brother Kern comes aboard.
Oh, okay.
And they're trying they're trying to honor him with, this buffet and all the best food and everything. And he just doesn't get it's just food to him, right? And so they've got like this brisket, and he takes some meat, and he's like, "You humans char your meat." Okay, whatever. He takes some of that, and he's grabbing stuff with his hands, right? And then he looks, and I mean, looking back on it, I know what the thought process had to be. He looks, and he's not sure if he's looking at a main dish or a condiment, because he's looking, and Picard comes over and he goes, "This is a human delicacy. It's called caviar. It's very rare. It's, very, valued."
Yes.
And he says, "Oh, okay." He reaches in with his fingers, takes a bunch of it, slaps it over his meat.
Oh.
and he tastes it. He's like, I've had caviar myself, and I can kind of understand where he's coming from. I could actually see that pairing. I could see that working.
Oh, that's funny. I'm trying to think, though. Yeah, Star Trek.
You say tea. Tea's more of a drink. When we're talking, like potatoes to the Irish, pasta to the Italians, I'm thinking like bangers and mash for the Brits, or beans and toast. Your basic, you always have it in your cabinet. If someone comes over, you have nothing else, you can at least serve them that. That's the kind of thing we're going for. As far as tea to the Brits, I mean, I would say, what would it be for Klingons? Blood wine? Warnog? Something like that. But yeah, I mean, everybody's got their cultural, culinary touchstones, right?
Yeah, well,
Oh, Connie, thank you so much for stopping by. Don't ever be sorry for being late. We just prattle on, and people just kind of come and go, and I'm just glad you stopped by, and I love your picture, the little birdie. That is so sweet. So glad you're here. We were just talking about Christmas memories, and we've kind of gone into Klingon Christmas and Klingon culture and so on and so forth. And just a reminder to everybody who might be interested, I do have a Klingon channel. Let me drop the, it's a sister channel to this one, and I've got almost, no followers there and not a great deal of content, but you're getting it for me. Thanks. Netter's going to drop the link. But like I said, I've got that recipe on there and a little Klingon cooking video for making gach. If in case you're interested, I'll have Pippius Claw in the next week or two. But there you go. So where were we?
We were just talking about the caviar and the steak.
Oh yeah, that was a good one. And this was an episode that had like an officer exchange, right? So the Enterprise got Kern, and the Bortas got Commander Riker as the first officer, and that's actually where we find out for the first time about most of the Klingon foods. Gach, Pippius Claw, Breguet Lung, and some of the other ones. And it's literally from that scene where he's eating all these different dishes and Worf is explaining each one to him that you see them on screen so I can figure out what it is that they're serving. But then, he's eaten, these serpent worms, right? And it literally looks like worms that he's eating. But they're replicated. So when he gets over to the Bortas and it's mealtime and they serve him gach, he recognizes it and he goes, "My gach is moving." And his Second officer says, well, Gach is best when served live. And actually, now that I think about it, this is another one of those scenes where you have a setup and then there's conversation and he punctuates it by eating, right? Because then they go into talking about different areas of Klingon culture. He actually bonds with this second officer because the second officer explains that because they go around and the different Klingons are talking about their fathers and what they did and so on and so forth. And he turns to the second officer and goes, what about your father? And he lowers his head. He goes, my father waits. And he says, waits for what? And one of the other Klingons says, he waits for death. He is without honor and, you know.
Wow.
And he's like, wow. And he starts to, but he's your father. And he goes, I have no father, you know. It's just a Klingon cultural thing that he was coming to understand. He goes, you wouldn't understand. You're human. He goes, well, that's why I'm here. I'm here to learn. At the beginning of today, I did not know how to eat gach. And he picks up the live serpent worms and puts them in his mouth.
There you go.
You know?
That's a good little scene.
Yeah. And I mean, talk about, you know, I mean, obviously, you know, everyone today wants to talk about how progressive, you know, Star Trek has always been. Yeah, that kind of stuff, you learn something about other cultures. Nowadays, that would be cultural appropriations. How dare you try learning about other cultures that way?
Star Trek.
You know, but Nanette dropped the link to my Carton the Klingon Cleric channel. If anything that I've said tonight, thank you, sweetie.
Connie sub 2.
Oh, thank you so much, Connie. If any of the rest of you are interested at all in Star Trek content, in Klingon culture, these recipes I've been talking about, please follow me over there.
Try one of these and tell me if it still tastes good to you. I've eaten a bunch of them and they taste a little, you know, sour.
They're a little waterlogged.
What are they? What are they?
Okay.
Lupini beans. It's
it's
an Italian thing. So if you were to go into a pub, what would they serve? They'd have peanuts, you know, pretzels, right? You go into an Italian pub, you're going to have these beans. They sit in water and salt, and they've got soft skins. You bite them, pop them open, you eat them. They look a little like a yellow lima bean, maybe a little bit bigger. They're actually kind of good. I like them.
All right.
And we got my wife hooked on them. She's learned a lot of Italian stuff.
Hey,
being married to me.
Yep.
That's some cool stuff.
Absolutely.
Oh, so any other Christmas memories you wanna say before we wrap up? What do you think? Anything else come to mind?
I'm an old fart, so I remember when the lights we put on the trees were the really, really big ones. You know, the ones that you put into a desk lamp. Were about
those,
that big.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, if you rattled them around enough, the coloring on the inside would scrape off, and then you'd have a little spot of bright white showing through, like the green that had flaked off on the inside. And if that light bulb burnt out, the whole string went out. You know?
Yeah, wasn't that a thing in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation? Like one of the lights goes out, and
well, that's what they thought it was. It wasn't. His main plug was turned off at the switch, and he didn't know that. And in fact, he connects something and the lights go on, but what he doesn't realize is his mother-in-law has just flipped a switch inside to see something in the garage, and then she flips it off, and it all goes off again. Then suddenly his wife figures out what's going on. She runs in and turns it on, and everyone's happy because the lights are on. But yeah, those were the lights we dealt with when I was really little, and then very shortly thereafter, the inside lights we replaced with the little Italian lights. Cool. Which some of them had the same problem, but as time went on, they had the parallel circuits so that one went out, they didn't all go out.
All right.
And the big ones ended up going outside the house, you know, until we decided we didn't want to bother putting lights outside anymore because it's difficult and it's cold and we didn't want to do it anymore. So what we started doing was what we do here is we put up the Christmas tree with the lights on it, and then we put lights around the inside of the windows, the white lights around the
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah. So growing up in the suburbs, we didn't have a fireplace. So every year I would put up a cardboard fake fireplace to hang,
Still have.
which we still have, that I would hang the stockings from. And I would say to my mother, if this is a fake, how does Santa get down the chimney? So she explained we have a chimney. He comes down the chimney, but he ends up in the utility room coming through the furnace. And I'm like, well, how does that work? She goes, the same way, he gets, magic and small and skinny and side of his nose and all that. Oh, okay. I see. Wow. Connie's talking about baby ornaments. So here's another family memory. This one's going to be a little tough for me. First 6 years, my mom would buy certain ornaments. And when my brother was born, she would then buy, whenever she'd buy more ornaments, she would buy two. One for my brother, one for me. With the idea that we'd split them up when we, grew up.
Right.
Problem was, came to find out rather early on, my brother was autistic, and
Right.
he was probably never going to get married, move out, have a life on his own.
Right.
Sure enough, that turned out to be the case. Now my brother's gone, and I've inherited all of the ornaments.
Right.
So I have way more ornaments than I could possibly, because, Nanette and I have been buying ornaments since, past 30 years that we've been married of our own. We've got the Star Wars and the Star Trek and the Superman and, all the other ornaments and, whatnot, plus, other Christmas things. Nanette likes, and I totally get where she's coming from with this. If you've ever seen, like, ornaments that are books, like it's a tiny little book, and you can open it up and actually read it, and it'll have like an abridged version of The Night Before Christmas,
Right,
or
I've
The
seen
Wizard
those,
of
yeah.
Oz and stuff like that. She loves those. So whenever we find one of those, we definitely get one of those.
It just has to be book shaped, and I'll love it.
Yeah, she
Cool,
just loves
cool.
books. But yeah, and what I've also recently started getting was not all of them. I haven't gone crazy with this, but Hasbro has been putting out, every year they'll put out a action figure set for Star Wars in Christmas theme. The first 3 years I thought were the best. I've got them. The first one was Yoda. And if you've ever seen, it's kind of a famous Christmas card with Yoda dressed as Santa. He's got a pack. Okay. They made him into an action figure on a base. Okay.
Yeah.
The next year they put out R2-D2 and C-3PO. C-3PO is wearing a Santa suit, and he's got like a fake beard, like in his hand, that he can put on his face. Mm-hmm. And R2-D2's got like reindeer ears. And that's from the cover of the Star Wars Christmas album.
Oh, okay.
And then the third one is two Jawas with Christmas presents. And one of them has like a Jedi remote in his hand. And I don't remember what the other one has. And that's from another, holiday illustration from years ago. Since then, they've been really phoning it in. They've been putting out different variations of stormtroopers with green and red painted armor. And I'm like,
of course.
I don't want any of that bullshit. But this past year, they re-released a set of 4 astromech droids that are Christmas themed that I'd really kind of like to get, because they're actually not too hard to find. That, like I said, they're a re-release of an older set. Both times they were only available at Disney stores or Disney parks, but you can get them online fairly easily. But yeah, so that's my Star Wars holiday collection, because, you know, the Star Wars holiday collection.
Holiday special.
Speaking of which, yeah, I'll have more videos coming out because I am finishing up some more holiday figures. I'm actually kind of rapid firing these things, and I just got there's a guy, and I've talked about him, Trash Compactor Toys. He prints I'm forgetting who the creator is who makes these 3D models. He prints them and sells the printed. He's basically providing a service of printing these 3D things for people that don't have 3D printers. But he's in the UK, so it takes a long time to get them over here. But I got the Pana Dragon from the holiday special animated feature that Boba Fett rides.
Yeah.
I just got to put that together, and
cool.
I'm putting together a custom box too. So
Cool.
like as if it had been sold back in the 70s.
It should have been.
Just like, and in fact, it even, well, I had to buy it separately, but it's got like a what do you call it? A saddle like with fake legs, kind of like the Patrol Dewback.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like in that style. So I got to paint the whole thing up, and I'm going to, you know, do a box up in the style of the Patrol Dewback, except for this. And yeah, and I'll do a video about that too eventually when I get around to it. You know?
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Looking forward to that.
So I think we're going to be wrapping this up. Any last thoughts that you had on the Christmas past?
I can't think of anything at the moment, but yeah, just I do miss those anticipated Christmas mornings. It kind of goes away when you get older, right? So I do kind of miss that.
Especially if you don't have kids.
Yeah, that's
you know,
true.
the kids really do.
They probably bring it back out of you. They probably do that. Yeah. And that's why I was making a point with that Santa Inc. show. I'm thinking this show is being made by people that aren't around children because they don't get it. But what did I want to say, though?
Well, they have no reverence for anything, and that's part of the problem. You know, there's no reverence. There's no honor. You know, I don't know. There's no respect.
I would argue 8-Bit Christmas, the other HBO Expo, it actually is a good Christmas
Good
movie.
point, yeah.
Respect. So good on HBO for that, and maybe not for the other thing. But I'm trying to think, though. Tomorrow night, though, you're going to be watching. Actually, I will say this. This will bring me into what you have going on tomorrow. A regular Christmas movie, Christmas Eve movie, or like a couple days for Christmas movie for me was always that Scrooge musical movie.
Yep.
And I wish I could partake tomorrow night with you guys on Big House Channel, but that was my Christmas Carol, and it really showed kind of the creepy side of Christmas in that movie. And you get to see Sir Alec Guinness as Jacob Marley in that movie.
Wow.
So you'll be looking forward to that. And it's a really cool movie. And
what, did the guy only ever play ghosts? I mean,
maybe he got typecast. I don't know.
Right.
You got a point there. But that was always a Christmas tradition. There's the scene when Scrooge looks at his own, whose name is on this tombstone.
yeah.
And what follows is like nightmare fuel. Okay, in this version, you'll see. When I was a kid, I saw that, and it's like, oh, that's what's under the hood in that guy. That's who that was. That's who the Ghost of Christmas Future is. I didn't realize that. It's dead.
Every version that I've seen when they do when the Ghost of Christmas Present shows Want, and I forget who the other one was.
Yeah, I don't think that's in this version. You don't get to see that part.
That always creeped me the hell
scene,
out.
But for some reason, they didn't have that in this version. But the guy that got to play him is funny. In fact, probably wants to think it's Brian Blessed, but I don't think it is. But it's an actor like that who's playing the Ghost of Christmas Present. Very, very boisterous and jovial. Yeah.
It needs to be. That's really the role, you know.
And they have the wonderful song about "I Like Life." That's the title of the song, and Scrooge has to sing
Which is
along and
very
say,
much
"I
the
like
counterpoint
life."
to the counterpoint to Scrooge's song "I Hate People." You know.
Yes, it's to make them people aren't so bad, and you get to see the minister's cat at his nephew's house. You get to see the game, the minister's cat.
I'll tell you,
Popular game.
I think I need a Christmas Carol right now because
you'll like it.
Let's face it, the past couple years I'm kind of hating people myself, so
You'll
really
learn.
use it.
Don't turn to Scrooge, and you realize that Scrooge too when they do the flashbacks. He had kind of a crappy childhood, except for his sister. He did get along with his sister. His sister died, but she gave birth to his nephew before she died, and that's sort of the connection he still has to his sister. But
see, and you could totally see how. But I mean, there's a lot of depth to this story.
Mm-hmm.
He really withdraws because that sister he cared about so much died.
His romance with his fiance.
Exactly. And
south.
He needs to be reminded, yeah, your sister's gone. You've got a nephew. And he is trying, and he tries all the time. And I'll tell you, that's probably the most emotional part for me is in the Christmas Present when he goes and he sees the party going on at his nephew's house, and all of his friends and is he married at that point? His wife are talking badly about Scrooge, and he defends him. He's like, he's my uncle, and my mother loved him, so I love him. It's like, ah.
Yeah.
And you know that impacts Scrooge, too. You know, that's a huge part of what helps turn him around, you know?
Yeah. But it'll be worth it when you get to the end and you see his turnaround. It's very nice.
Yeah.
But they spend some time with it too, with his turnaround when there's a whole town celebration. It's you'll like the movie. I think if you've never seen it, I think you're in for a treat. But
I haven't seen it in many years, but I have seen it.
Okay, yeah.
That was. Remember, I've talked on this channel about in the Chicago area the family classics with Fraser Thomas, and especially around the holidays. This was one of those. This was one of those family classics.
Oh, that was on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it too fondly from my youth as well.
Yeah.
Let's see. And Sunday we have Geeky Geezers.
Well, first, Matthew Flynn, the Gladiator of Chaon. On Sunday morning, it'll be the last installment of Ben 10 Omniverse.
Okay.
So that'll be 9 Central. It's like middle of the evening over there on his side of the pond. But you know, obviously, if you can't make it, you know, Sunday morning, you can always catch the rerun. Be sure to go to his channel, subscribe, hit the like and the bell and do all the things. But then, Sunday evening, over on your channel,
Geeky Geezers. And we'll be talking. We have some news to talk about this week. Actually, I didn't think it would be much, but they're actually.
Yeah, there's a spider something going on, and there's. Some,
well, we're not going to harp too much on that, but also LeVar Burton was in the news.
Fuck him.
I'm gonna have some fun with that. We'll talk about that.
The Birdman.
Saturday's Birdman this week. I don't know because he keeps trying to figure out when these guests are going to come on, but I think it might be Die Hard 2 with Chris P, or it'll be Home Alone 2 with Eric. We're going to do one or the other, so definitely one or the other. Home Alone 2 is a good movie.
Oh yeah, it is. It absolutely is. Yeah. Of course, you have the original version that doesn't cut out, you know, Trump, right?
Yes, okay. Yes, the bad man.
The bad orange man, right? Then next Friday, what I'm thinking about doing is I will be streaming the Klingon Christmas Carol on Discord, but I'll be simulcasting over here as well. So come here, get the link, come on over, or you know what? Right now, down in the description, the Discord, go to the Discord, join the Discord, and because that's where we'll be next week. Okay? So you can see, because it's really about the only way right now, unless unless Chris is able to find a new licensee for the play and a new troupe. They're not performing it right now. I don't know of anyone right now who's and let's face it, live theater is very difficult to do right now.
Oh yeah,
all over the world we've got.
Yeah, Cinderella gets shut down in London. Remember Andrew Lloyd Webber? This is Andrew Lloyd Webber. He had to shut. They made him shut the play down.
Let alone these little local productions. So but so right now someone like myself who has it on DVD is the own physical media.
There you go.
So yeah, and we'll do that. In fact, what I might do is I might I'll be on Discord, but maybe I'll do the simulcast on my Klingon Cleric channel. So Netter dropped that link earlier. It's still at the top of the screen there. Click on that and subscribe, because that's where I'll be next week. Okay?
Cool.
And then that brings us back around to next Saturday, where I believe that's Netter's week for
Charlie Brown Christmas.
Cool. Which I will also simulcast on my Discord.
Cool.
But that'll be on her channel.
Alrighty. All right.
Connie, you said you tried joining Discord. Let me open up Discord right now and see if there's something I need to do on my end. I gotta say I'm still getting used to it, and I tend to get a little lost sometimes, and I have to ask Mr. Matchstick to help me with some of this stuff because even though I don't go by the name Boomer, I sometimes feel like a boomer.
Gotcha.
So let me see. I'm not seeing any requests or anything like that. What are you seeing there, Connie, that is stifling you? Let me know. And if you're still having problems, by all means, send me a private message, either Twitter or MeWe, or an email from my YouTube about has my email if any of you ever needs to get a hold of me on email. But anyway, okay. Yeah, just let me know what I can do for you, Connie, and I'll help you out.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, this has been fun.
So yeah, thank you everyone. I always appreciate it, and yeah. So take care. Hit the like button on the way out if you haven't already. It would super encourage me too if you came back tomorrow and left a comment. It just helps with engagement on the videos and whatnot. I super appreciate it. And yeah. Last words, Boomer?
Nothing. Everyone have a good night, and get the last minute Christmas shopping to your best of your ability if you're having trouble. And
yeah.
Just I know it can be kind of a hectic week for people, so just take care of yourself.
Yep. Everyone enjoy your holidays, and yeah, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Good night, ladies.
Good night, sir.
Hit it, sweetheart.